All right. What's up, everyone? Welcome to my first ever stream here on Twitch TV. And boy, is it a good day to get started here. Before I get into why, real quick, for folks watching on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that algorithm stuff. It's the best thing you can do for free to support the content creators that you enjoy. So why is today a good day for us to get started? Well, Historic Anthology 4 just dropped. Overall, not the most exciting anthology, but it does come with a bit of a banger, and that is Death's Shadow. If you don't know what Death's Shadow is, you're probably not a modern player or a legacy player, or you're the caveman from the Geico commercials. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's a 1 mana 13/13 that gets -X, where X is your life total. The idea behind this card is to aggressively lower your own life total so you can play a large creature for a small amount of mana and kill your opponents with it. Shadow decks typically run Temur Battle Rage, which gives it double strike and trample to get through that last bit of damage, make sure your opponents can't hide behind chump blockers, and it makes your big creature hit for twice as much. In Zendikar Rising, recent set, we got Scourge of the Skyclaves, which is essentially Death's Shadow, where we also have to pressure our opponent's life total in order to enable it. Most modern decks, you'll see both of these now, and those decks have a lot of different strategies to take advantage of these two creatures. You have Grixis builds, which use the large creatures to enable Stubborn Denial, so you have a 1 mana counterspell and you have more of a reactive game plan. They use Delver of Secrets to pressure opponents early. That's their cheap, aggressive creature. Then you have Jund Shadow, which uses Magic's most classic, large, efficient creature, Tarmogoyf. And then finally, you've got Rakdos Shadow, which is probably the most aggressive of the bunch. And that takes some cues from Blister Coil Burn, using Monastery Swift Spear, Soulscar Mage, Lava Dart, in order to go wide, be super aggressive, pump up those creatures quickly, and deal a lot of damage really fast. So what do we have in Historic that can model this kind of game plan? Well, we don't have Temur Battle Rage, but we do have access to Embercleave, which does essentially the same thing. It gives creatures the creature it equips +1/+1 and double strike and trample, but it's a little bit more expensive. 6 mana value, the new term, but it costs a little bit less for each attacking creature you control, so it incentivizes you to play more aggressive creatures. So we're going to take a more aggressive approach with this rather than aiming for something more reactive like a Grixis Shadow plan you'd see in Modern. And this is what really pushes us into Mardu here in Historic. The creature that excites me the most to enable both Embercleave and Scourge of the Skyclaves and Death Shadow all in one go is Old Standard All-Star Adanto Vanguard. It attacks well, it's hard to get rid of, and its indestructible ability may as well read instant speed, pay 0, and pump up all your Death Shadows by +4/+4. Really great addition to the deck. I think it's going to fit really well. Other than that, we have a pretty standard Death Shadow game plan here. We have our 4 copies of Thoughtseize, 3 copies of Duress, our discard suite to try and affect our opponent's hand, keep them from having either a game plan that's more aggressive than ours or the removal necessary to handle our big creatures. We have our own removal suite in Fatal Push, just a classic as always, and Feed the Swarm. Another recent printing which does a good job of allowing us to lower our life total at will. God's Willing is a bit of a nod to some of the Phyrexian mana spells that you see in the modern versions of the deck. It lets us make our Death Shadow unblockable or protects it from removal, but this might be an early cut target. We'll see how this works. We don't get to pay life in order to cast it, so it might not be worth the slots. In addition to that, we've got Crash Through, get some trample, draw some cards, Spikefield Hazard, extra red drops. We need a lot of red sources to get to double red on turn 3 or 4 for Embercleave, and it's a little bit of instant speed removal for some smaller creatures. We have some recursion in Lurrus of the Dream Den and Aghanim's Awakening. I've got just 1 copy of Lurrus here. We can't use him as a companion because of Embercleave, and we're not really in the business of gaining life unless we absolutely have to. So I think 1 copy is correct here. Shatterskull Smashing, great way to shock ourselves with land if we need to, and again, just some backup removal. That's essentially it. Here's our mana base. You'll notice the temple and the Clifftop Retreat. Here, these really should just be pathways. I just ran out of wild cards. So this is what we're working with today. We're going to jump into some ranked games, see how it feels, get a feel for the deck in best of one, and then maybe we can work on a sideboard once we feel like we've got this list settled. So let's jump into some games and see how it goes. All right. We've got Thoughtseize on 1, Vanguard on 2, and a little bit of removal. I think this is worth keeping. Not super happy to see Embercleave in the opener. It's usually the last card we're going to cast in a game. Hopefully it's because we're ending the game. But I think the rest is playable. We'll give this a try. We've got some Azorius sleeves on the other side. We'll see if they're on brand. Let's fire it off. Yeah, that looks about right. I'm not super worried about Search for Azcanta here. I just don't want opponents to get out of reach and counter our stuff. So looks like our removal isn't very good here in this matchup. Dawntal Vanguard might be our all-star here. Let's hope they didn't draw Glass Casket. Alright, getting themselves a wall. Scourge of the Skyclaves, very nice. Let's go ahead and get in. I think I'm going to go ahead and play this on black. And we'll just keep everything up here and... No, let's drop the Skyclave. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and end step remove this wall. Just get it out of the way. Duress. Duress is nice here. Ooh, definitely taking the Doomscar. And let's go ahead and end the turn. Things are looking decent. Vanishing Light. Taking the Vanguard. Alright. Let's hope they don't draw more removal. Ditching land. Did we get lucky? Let's find out. Teferi. Probably going to tuck the Scourge.
Sorry I'm late. Let's take it back.
Alright. So we can play our Shadow. We can also get rid of this Banishing Light. Gets our Vanguard back, forces them to find multiple answers. It's either that or Azcanta, which is still a ways off from going active, but does help them dig for those answers. They probably have more board wipes. I'm guessing they have more single target removal than board wipes. So I'm going to get rid of the Banishing Light, get our Vanguard back. And let's go ahead and pass there.
Let's skip to the good part.
Teferi's still good. Never stop being good. Alright, they've got Absorb and one unknown card. We've got a Shatterskull Smashing. We can deal 2 to Teferi here. That might bait out the Absorb. And that would let us swing for lethal. Or nearly lethal. No, we can go to lethal. Let's see if we can bait out this Absorb. Tap down lots of their lands, see what else we got here. There it is. Cycling Sensor. Very nice. And lethal. Great start. Love to see that, especially against a resolved Teferi. Didn't even have to remove it. That's a nice place to be. Dr. Mister. Doctor Strange reference there. Alright, we've got our turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Vanguard, we've got Death Shadow. Smashing is probably going to be a land here for us. This looks like a very solid keep. Lures to the Dream Den. Spark Harvest, Young Pyromancer, Claim, Kroxa, and Dreadhorde Arcanist. So Rakdos Arcanist discard. Tough deck. What do we take here? Probably the Pyromancer? That Claim's just going to bring back the Kroxa. Actually, maybe it's the Claim. Because we can Fatal Push their creatures. They're going to have to block at some point. Spark Harvest isn't going to be able to take out our Vanguard. Yeah, I think we take the Claim. Let's go ahead. I'm going to be aggressive with our Life Total here. I'm going to play this as the land. So we've got a tap land coming up, which I really don't like seeing in the deck, but we do want double red here for Embercleave should we draw it. It's a nice swamp. There's Kroxa. And I'm happy to take the 3 here. An extra shadow, that's perfect, because then we can bait out that Spark Harvest and have a backup one. Let's go ahead and get in. Drop our Temple, see what's coming up. I think I'd rather have a spell. We don't need a lot of lands to operate here. Let's go ahead and play a Shadow. and end the turn. Are they going to try and get some blockers down? Yep. Pyromancer. They have the land for Spark Harvest. They do. Drew another claim. I think I'm going to force him to block. Let's drop that Fatal Push. Because I know they have removal. I still want that Shadow. There's another Vanguard. That's pretty sweet. Alright, let's go ahead and swing in. Nice little 7-ball here. And then, I don't think they're going to be running any board wipes. Let's go ahead and just play everything. Make them deal with it. We are at 6. They can deal damage in some chunks. They don't have enough cards to exile the Kroxa. It's the Arcanist. It's not going to have haste. I'm not worried about that. Embercleave would be a nice draw. Would not mind an Embercleave. I'm going to see that Spark Harvest come out. That'd be an interesting play. They could Fame the Arcanist, give it haste, bring back the other claim, and bring back Kroxa again. Deal an extra 3, force me to block. I'm thinking it through. There's the play. Not attacking. Just getting the extra blocker. Alright, so give a Shadow Protection from red, pump it with the Vanguard, swing for lethal. Crash through? Sure, that's fine. There we go. 2 up, 2 down. Things are going pretty smoothly here for this first draft of Mardu Shadow. Adanto Vanguard seems like the perfect fit for this deck. Alright. No Adanto Vanguard, but Double Death Shadow and some removal. We do have 2 shock lands to help bring down that life total quickly. Feed the Swarm will help there too. Let's go ahead and try it. It's a bluff that we have a shock. Pressure of the Fallen. I'm not going to ping us for very much off the feed, but that is a board in a box. We don't want to let that one sit around. Let's go ahead and play this on black, and then we'll feed it right away. And they've got another one. Oh, we've got a fatal push. Let's go ahead and shock again. I think I'm going to try to let them swing in. I don't like that they get essentially card advantage by paying money into the boast instead of casting their cards, but I want to get these shadows turned on, and then I can push the Usher after that. I'm going to have to deal with a few blockers, but we'll see where we get. There we go. So that'll turn on our shadows. Fortunately, we only have the one black source at the moment. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and shock this in. I'm going to push the Usher before combat. There we go. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and play them both. If they have removal, I have the Lurrus, and I have enough mana where I can bring at least one of them back the same turn I play it. So I'm going to force them to deal with two 6/6s out of nowhere. Let's see how it goes. Carrion Eagle. That's not going to cut it. Do want to get rid of the flyer, just so that they have less of an ability to crack back. Just a casual swing for 18. And then let's protect ourselves with the Lurrus. I don't mind shrinking the shadows a little bit when they're down at 2. We'll hold the land here, make them think we've got a spell. And there we go. Alright. Double cleave is pretty rough. We do have Duress and Vanguard, but we have a tapped land as our second land. This is not great. As much as I'd like to try and get by just on the early pressure of Duress and Adonta Vanguard, I think I gotta mull this one. Right. Let's keep this 6. We'll put back the second Spikefield Hazard. Scourge here is going to take a little bit of work to turn on, but we might be alright. We do get an extra draw off the crash through. Garuda. There's a chance we could get overrun in this one. I don't think there's going to be all that many small creatures that we can fatal push. Huh. Alright, so if I ping them here, I can at least play a 1/1 Scourge. That gives me something to do on 2. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. This is not a deck that we want to take our time against. treasure hunt. It's a treasure hunt deck? With Gyruda. Alright, so Thassa's Oracle is a thing. Let's see what we got coming up. Cleave? Sure, I guess we can cleave. That'll at least help us get there. Still have 39 cards in deck. They got a little ways to go. No, Arena, I'm not going to fail to push my own Scourge. Now we gotta wait for them to discard. We've got a decent-sized hand. Alright, at least we have the lands to get cleaved down. Hopefully they don't kill us before it becomes relevant. Scourge is going to keep getting bigger and bigger, and when it gets to hit for double damage, that's going to make a big difference. There's the treasure hunt. There's the Oracle. 13 cards left. They get 2 more cycles. That'll be 11 cards left. Oh, no, that's right. They can Sanctuary back the Treasure Cruise. Is that all 4 cruises? The long discard times. And we drew another cleave. Probably dead here. And here comes the Oracle. Well done. Meme decks for the win. Obviously, we don't interact super well with decks like this. Best thing we can hope for is a more aggressive hand where we're not relying on just a single creature to get by. And Adanto Vanguard wins the game for us. As you saw, we were only 1 turn off from winning there, and that was on the back of a single Scourge, which we played initially as a 1-1, and it went coast to coast all by itself. So I don't think that's a matchup we lose very often. Alright, this hand doesn't really do much of anything. Definitely can't keep this one. No creatures. That's a little happier. I think we shipped the Spikefield Hazard. Yeah, I'd rather have all my creatures in the Fatal Push. Lurrus deck on the other side. Let's see what our opponent has for us. Stitcher's Supplier. Claim to Fame and Fatal Push. This looks like another Rakdos discard. Yeah, let's be aggressive here. I'm going to go ahead and block. And I'm going to go ahead and pay the 4. I'm going to let them know. That's alright. Lost an Arcanist. There's a Kroxa. Alright, we got our 2 shadows out. We'll see how well they survive. We got our Fatal Push up. We can use the Vanguard to pump the shadows. Unless they get some blockers or have some removal, we have a pretty easy lethal attack next turn. It'll be what, turn 4? Pyromancer, that's a card. Do they have a claim? Wow. Village rights, sure. They're tapped out. Pretty sure that just means we win. Alright. One more. And this is why I love Adanto Vanguard in this. It allows us to set our life total arbitrarily. The card quality in Modern is obviously much higher, but you have to do a lot of work. You have to use mana and you have to use spells in order to lower your life total. With Adanto Vanguard, as long as it's on the battlefield, we have an arbitrary amount of times that we can drop our life total without dying, just to pump those at any time. It's a really nice tool. We don't need mutagenic growth to pay the life and then boost them. Adanto Vanguard really does it all for us in this deck. Alright. Shocklands plus Shatterskull. 2 Shadow, a Duress, and a Scourge. I think this is worth it. We can Duress on 1. I mean, we get to deal 7 damage to ourselves just through these 3 lands alone. I think this is good. Thought Erasure, Cast Down, and Heartless Act. We're decently Thought Erasure proof. We'll take one of our creatures that are all essentially equivalent. Heartless Act and Cast Down are the bigger problems. I think I'll just take the Cast Down. I guess maybe Heartless Act is technically better since we have Aluris in the deck, but not super concerned. Alright, so this is easy Vanguard time. There's the Thought Erasure. We'll take a creature. We don't really care which. Took a shadow. Fantastic. Obviously, the card we're most scared of in this format is Languish. It's one of the few board wipes that can actually handle our Adanto Vanguard. I want to be aggressive here and play both creatures, but then they know that the only card left in my hand is a Sacred Foundry, and if they do have a board wipe, we're in deep trouble. So I think what we do here is we're just going to play the Foundry, attack, and then play the Scourge. It's a little less aggressive, just plays around some of their options. This might bait out that Heartless Act. Let us get that shadow down. Oh, another Thought Erasure. That's a little rougher, because now they have answers to both the Shadow and the Scourge. Sarkhan the Masterless. Interesting. Scrybug. Alright, let's go ahead and attack. We'll get our shadow down. We've got their life total low enough here. Actually, 7, 10. We have lethal on board. Do I play the long game, or do I go for the immediate win? Because if they don't have a board wipe and they can't answer both the Shadow and the Scourge, they're just done. If they do have a board wipe, that's essentially game. They're the control deck, we're the beatdown deck. Let's just go for it. Nice. They don't have the wipe. This is probably the game in our favor. They have another single target. Another Heartless Act. Alright. Fatal Push is not the card we need. They are on a 2-turn clock now. And Adanto Vanguard is decently difficult to get rid of. And they have an exile effect. Raven form and constructed. Not something you see every day. I am going to play this Shrine. I'm not going to shock. Life total is decently low here. If we get our hands on an Embercleave, even a bird can wear an Embercleave. And these Fatal Pushes are something else right now. Cast down. Looks like we're both just waiting for something we can do. When is that Nicol Bolas going to show up? Valky. There we go. Do you have more removal? Thought Erasure. Gonna take the Fatal Push. Okay. Is this just for the Surveil? Yes. Very nice. And with that Agadeem's Awakening, even if they did have something to kill the Scourge there, we get back a Scourge and a Shadow, and that's game. Alright, running it back. Deck feels pretty good so far. Probably the weakest card in the deck is still that God's Willing, but I haven't been super unhappy with it. The Scry has been relevant. There's situations where we want to protect. It's definitely helped with some unblockability. Not yet sure if I want to make any revisions, but having a good time so far. Can't keep this though. No creatures. This is the thing that worries me about the current build, other than how it's felt when we've been playing. Not seeing hands with no creatures is rough. We have, I think, only 13 in the deck. It's possible that we want to add some more aggressive creatures to enable that Ember Cleave, and just to make sure we always have some in our opener, because they're super important to pressure our opponent's life total for the Scourge. We're going to mull this one away. There's an Adanto Vanguard. I think we put back the Ember Cleave. Yeah. So, not sure what we're up against yet. I'm going to go ahead and play the Pathway on black. And then we can shock in the Foundry next turn for the Vanguard. This keeps our options open. Perfect. Second Vanguard here is great. We see a Swamp on the other side. We know we're probably going to see some kind of removal. Happy to have a backup here, even though the Vanguard is more difficult to get rid of. Golgari, is this Elves? There's a Shadow. We want to make our land drops here. And I think I'm going to sandbag this Shadow. We could drop 4 life and play it right away, and that would be a very aggressive play here. And considering they're doing nothing, that might have been the play. Got them down to 11. I'm going to go ahead and get the Shadow out now. We do have the Awakening in case we need it. And I'm going to play the Shrine. I'm not going to shock, just so we have these activations up. Cultivate. Yes, they are very, very dead now. Swamp and Forest, Swamp into Play tapped. And there's Lethal. Don't know if they were playing it out just to play it out, or if they didn't realize we could pump our Death Shadow. In any case, we got the win. Alright, we have turn 1 Duress, turn 2 Vanguard, we have a Fatal Push, we have some card draw with some Trample. Again, not happy to see that Cleave in the first, in the opener. We're only running 2 in the deck. Feels like about half our games we've seen this in our opening hand. I think on the play this is worth it. We'll go ahead and give it a try. Revitalize, Dawn of Hope, Fountain of Renewal, and Vraska's Contempt. So, Dawn of Hope can win games all on its own. The card draw here and the creature creation is very relevant. Not super concerned about Fountain of Renewal. A little bit of life gain's no big problem for us. The problem with Dawn is that it's an engine. It creates creatures and it draws cards. Vraska's Contempt is definitely a struggle for us because of the exile. We only have the one creature right now. They do have 3 lands. They're very likely going to have Dawn active, and then they don't even really need anything else. I think we take the Dawn here, and then hope we draw more discard for the Vraska's Contempt, or more creatures so they just exile one thing, and we're good to go. Alright, let's go ahead and shock. If we're going to race their life gain, we need our shadows big pretty quickly. So I'm happy doing what we can to bring down our life total. Scourge is going to be harder to enable here. And there's a shadow. That's fantastic for us. Let's go ahead and play our second red source. I'm going to hold this crash through because they are going to make some blockers with that Dawn. And I'm going to... yeah, I'm going to sandbag the shadow. Actually, they're not going to be able to cast that Contempt next turn. Let's go ahead and get that shadow down. If we draw a land, there's a chance we can Ember Cleave, with which our ability to grow our shadow very quickly could give us an opportunity here. They played Dawn. They're playing a Mind Stone. Not even Dawn of Hope. I guess they can play it off the Mind Stone? No. Interesting. Alright, well, we're going for it. They have something. We don't know what it is. Alright, so that's 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. 8, 16, 17, 18, 19. And there's our lethal. Temur Battle Rage is pretty good, huh? Looks like our opponent's a filthy casual. Alright, so we got our Vanguard, we got our Scourge, got a Crash through. We might be playing one of these Spike Fields as a land, but we'll see. I think we definitely start just by shocking and getting the Vanguard going so we can enable our Scourge. Sacred Foundry. Bone Splitter. Well, they got the Anthology. Not the card I was expecting to see, but they are a filthy casual, so... Second Vanguard here. Happy to see it. Gives us some good pressure. played. It's Adanto's cousin. They have to lose cards to do it. Now, the advantage is it's always a 3-1, not just when it's attacking. Alright, we got our untapped land. They do have to tap it down in order to give it indestructible. So I think what I'm going to do here... Let's see if we can force them to discard a whole bunch of cards. So I'm going to play an untapped... I think we want this on black. We're going to attack, see if they block and discard. We'll pay our 4 life. And then on their turn, at the draw step, we'll Spike Field Hazard. No, we'll let them spend the money on the mana on the Bone Splitter first. We'll Spike Field before combat, make them tap it down and discard again. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and activate our ability. They'll activate theirs. Perfect. Ditching cards. Ditching a Sacred Foundry. 2 indestructible 3/1s bouncing off of each other. Alright, and I think we're going to play the Scourge here. It's not very large at the moment, but we're working on it. Let's go ahead and end the turn. Maul of the Skyclaves. Okay, so that'll boost the toughness, so we have to Spike Field now. Ditching another land. And there's a shadow. Alright, so we can't do that same trick with our Spike Field because now it has 3 toughness, which is no fun. That thing's going to hit pretty hard, but that's going to turn on our shadow. So I think our goal here has really just got to be to apply pressure. They're going to hit hard. I don't think they're going to kill us next turn, but the more creatures we have, the harder we're going to crack back because our life total goes down, our creatures get bigger. So let's start by swinging. Get in for a 5-ball. And then we're going to go ahead and play both of our creatures. Actually, no, we would have to... Yeah, we're going to wait. Because we'd have to take a hit for 4. And if they have more equipment up there, that could be trouble for us. All that glitters, yep. Yeah. Definitely don't want to go to 10 here. They're going to swing back for 10. If they equip this Bone Splitter, that's 10. Getting our Death Shadow online last turn. Toolcraft Exemplar. Alright, so they're at 13. Let's go ahead and get rid of their blocker. We also were able to give ourselves trample there. Alright, we're 3 wins away from Diamond, but we've been streaming for about 2 hours now. For first ever stream, I think that's where we're going to call it. We'll be back soon. We'll definitely play more Shadow. I'm going to definitely work on this list to see if we can fine tune it. Might see about adding other creatures. Bomat Courier is definitely an interesting one. We talked about struggling a little with card draw and wanting more creatures. Bomat answers both of those questions. Soulscar Mage is another option, but again, without Bolt and Lava Dart, it's harder to enable. So that might not be the way we want to go. We'll take a look at it, see what happens. Next time we come back, though, we're going to be playing another brew of mine that I really, really enjoy. I mentioned Blister Coil Burn at the very beginning of the stream when talking about Rakdos Shadow. This is my attempt to make Blister Coil Burn a real thing in Historic. So I will see you all next time. Thanks for coming by.